Hello, friends. Welcome to the series of Academy of Carnivals, Me and My Hysteroscope. Day by day, hysteroscope is capturing field of gynecology. Hysteroscope is gold standard in intrauterine adhesions. Today we are going to learn some important things about intrauterine adhesions. Me and my hysteroscope always talk together in the cavity of Asherman when we enter. We look for the normal endometrium, evaluate the adhesions, whether they are soft or tough. Always try to deal with seizures. Only have to focus because there are difficulties in finding the cervix, in entering the cervix, in maintaining the flow to see endometrial glow, understanding the limit of distension medium, adjusting the light source optimum, getting clarity of the image, but have patience and courage. Operate with tender loving care. Namaskar. For this very important session, today the man behind the machine is Dr. Jude Okowie. So today's faculty is Dr. Jude Okowie from West Africa, a wonderful friend of mine, working silently for the betterment of women all the time. He has a great love for endoscopy and always keeping pace with basic and advances. Professor Jude Okowie runs a successful IVF and minimal access surgery unit in Port Harcourt Gynecoscope Specialist Hospital, Nigeria, West Africa. He has published more than 40 articles in several international journals. Recently published Safe Hysteroscopy Practice during COVID-19 pandemic in JMIG. So, focus on the subject, aim at the target, and you will achieve it. Welcome Dr. Jude Okowie in this world of hysteroscopy.
Hello, my good friend Dr. Sushma. Hello, hystero lovers. I bring you very warm greetings from Africa.
Thank you very much, Dr. Jude. So, in this session, we'll be discussing intrauterine adhesions and role of hysteroscopy with Dr. Jude Okowie from Africa. Intrauterine adhesions or Asherman syndrome, also known as uterine atresia or amenorrhea traumatica. It's a challenging topic in the field of gynecology. And we know that it is debatable in many aspects with no clear consensus about its classification and management. Intrauterine adhesions first described by Dr. Henry Fritz in 1894. Later on, in 1948 and 1950, Dr. Joseph Asserman reported many cases of intrauterine adhesions secondary to the trauma to the gravid uterus. And prevalence of intrauterine adhesions varies from country to country. So, Dr. Jude, what is the prevalence or incidence of intrauterine adhesions in your country?
The incidence of intrauterine adhesions in my country, Nigeria, is quite high. Last year, we published a study where we looked at a 7-year period of hysteroscopies, close to about 1,000 cases, and found out that about 40% of the indications were as a result of intrauterine adhesions. So yes, it's quite high where I practice. Well, Nigeria is a country in West Africa, a country with highly restrictive abortion laws. And of course, for that reason, a lot of the cases of abortions are performed under unsafe conditions. This increases the incidence of intrauterine adhesions. At the same time, it's an African population with a high prevalence of uterine fibroids. And of course, a lot of the women undergo open mammectomy. This also contributes to the high incidence of intrauterine adhesions we find in my locality.
It is really surprising to know such a high incidence of intrauterine adhesions in your country. But Dr. Jude, you exactly pointed out that medical termination of pregnancy by surgical method is the main reason. Especially when sharp curette is used to remove the products of conception. One thing, in country like India, genital tuberculosis is also important cause of intrauterine adhesions. Also, there are other causes like intrauterine surgery, myomectomy, you already mentioned it, and some immunological causes they are there. And the scientists started thinking what must be happening exactly. And it is observed that there is trauma to the endometrial stem cell niche, which is at the basal layer of endometrium. That's a microenvironment where the stem cell regulation occurs. And this layer is very important to all gynecologists. And they should protect this layer while carrying out the intrauterine surgeries. So, what is your opinion about this?
Well, there are advocacy groups that are trying to see if they can change the narrative and help upgrade the abortion laws. Of course, we also have a lot of women who now understand the implication of an unsafe abortion, and that has improved the level of usage of contraceptions towards preventing unwanted pregnancies. However, considering the fact that this country is a highly religious one, it might be a bit difficult for our laws to change anytime soon.
As you rightly said, safe abortion practices, use of contraceptives will prevent trauma to this layer. Because if this layer is destroyed, further regeneration, that's the endometrial regeneration, won't occur. So my question to you is that how do you evaluate intrauterine adhesions? I mean, what are the diagnostic modalities?
Well, I must say that I'm probably one of the few persons in this environment who has access to a hysteroscope. So I prefer to use hysteroscopy during my evaluation and even treatment of intrauterine adhesions. I know some colleagues still use hysterosalpingography, HSG, saline infusion sonography, transvaginal ultrasound scan, even 3D scan. But they all have their drawbacks in the evaluation of intrauterine adhesions. Of course, some people will talk about the use of magnetic resonance imaging, but that's quite expensive and maybe might not be used as a routine in evaluating cases of intrauterine adhesions.
Yes, that is true. To begin with, we can make out from history. Also, there are 2D, 3D sonography, hysterosalpingography, which can give some idea about the intrauterine adhesions. Of course, hysteroscopy is the gold standard for evaluation as well as management. That is see and treat. But I must agree here that to operate a patient of intrauterine adhesions is not an easy job. So, Dr. Jude, what are the clinical challenges in intrauterine adhesions?
Well, in this environment, the challenge is that most of the cases we find are actually severe because of the unsafe abortions that led to them. And so, to worsen issues, some of them, when the complications do arise, rather than come to the hospital, still go for unorthodox treatment regime. Some of them involve passing very highly caustic or corrosive agents through the vagina, which leads to severe gynecomastia, sometimes even with amputation of the cervix, in addition to the intrauterine adhesions. So all these worsen the plight of the patients that we see here in Nigeria.
Dr. Jude, you have mentioned a very important point, that is orthodox treatment, which is very common in developing countries. Secondly, I would like to ask that you are operating a lot of patients of intrauterine adhesions. So, what are your methods to operate intrauterine adhesions? I mean, whether you will prefer scissors, bipolar, or lasers.
Well, I have access to scissors, I have access to bipolar. I don't have access to laser for now. I know that there are no comparative studies that will tell us which is the best to use, but in my close to 18, 19 years of hysteroscopic anisolysis, I've never had any case where scissors was not able to manage effectively. Scissors we know has some advantages, including the fact that it occupies less space, is cheaper to acquire, and of course does not do any harm or damage to healthy endometrium, unlike laser and cautery. So I still prefer to use the scissors.
Perfect. So one must avoid electrical energy while dealing with intrauterine adhesions. 5 French scissors and forceps with 2.9 mm hysteroscope is sufficient for it. Dr. Jude, I know your hysteroscopic skills about intrauterine adhesions. We'd like to show your video. Superb. You are demonstrated very nicely the surgical management. But I would like to ask, do you prefer any pre-operative surgical preparation?
Well, I don't have any specific pre-operative regime. However, of course, I counsel the patients before we go in for cases. I inform them that there's a chance of recurrence, and of course, they should prepare their minds for a possible second look hysteroscopy. Of course, carry out some blood work to check the level of blood level, the PCV, blood sugar, infection screening. I'm aware that some colleagues prefer to use things like misoprostol or even laminaria tent to ease cervical dilatation during a hysteroscopic anisolysis, but I don't do that as a routine, and I've never really had any problem.
Yes, counseling is very important. So, in the management of intrauterine adhesions, 4 steps are very important. Number 1, surgical treatment by hysteroscopy, that you have already done. Second, to prevent recurrence of adhesions. Thirdly, restoration of normal endometrium. And fourth is second look hysteroscopy for post-operative assessment. So now my question is, how you manage, what you are using to prevent recurrence of adhesions, and what you are using for the restoring normal endometrium.
Well, post-operatively, I tend to want to use a pediatric-sized Foley catheter, preferably size 8, and instill about 3 ml of normal saline or sterile water in the balloon to keep the endometrial walls apart. Sometimes the endometrial cavity is not able to retain the catheter, in which case I have no choice but to use an IUD. I also try to, as much as possible, use estrogen agents for endometrial regeneration. For now, no randomized controlled trials to tell us about the dosage and duration of use, but I tend to use them for like 1, 2, or 3 months. That's estrogen preparations. And of course, I leave the catheter in situ for like 7 to 10 days. I also add a progestogen just for the purpose of withdrawal bleed during the course of usage of estrogen preparations.
Yes, post-operative management is very important. Someone will use balloons catheter. I use hyaluronic acid gel. Some doctors are using intrauterine balloon stent or Wirtz catheter. It depends upon doctor's choice and what is available in that country. Secondly, you have mentioned restoration of normal endometrium, which is also very important. Commonly, we all are using hormonal therapy, but nowadays, platelet-rich plasma is also used. That this platelet-rich plasma is instilled in the intrauterine cavity at the endomyometrial junction with the help of hysteroscope. If there are other advanced facility, one can use stem cells also. Thanks a lot, Dr. Jude, for your practical inputs. Now, what is your advice to all histo lovers?
Well, my message is let's still continue to preach the gospel of hysteroscopy. Let's try and make hysteroscopy available in every nook and corner of the world. Let's try as much as possible to train more hands so that at the end of the day, truly our hysteroscope will become our stethoscope. Thank you.
So, dear friends, here we end our session. But remember, to deal with intrauterine adhesion requires a focus and vision. Hysteroscopy is a boon, and really we are thankful to modern technology and all innovations that helping us to create a wonderful uterine cavity with perfection. But prevention is always better. So please think twice before keeping or before putting a sharp curette in the uterine cavity. And don't forget, infection like tuberculosis, which is very common in Asian countries, especially in India. Thank you.